everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Vibes and Views brought to you by Bluxies Incorporated. If you're new here, which you are because this is our very first pioneer episode, at Bluxies we're all about empowering luxury-minded women to live large, dare to dream big, and make impact in their career and personal lives. And this podcast is one of the ways which we're extending that mission. Here we're going to have honest and uncomfortable conversations. And happy new month. This month just so happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month. So, what a great way to start the month by having this conversation. I'm your host, Fikayomi, and joining me here today are four mental health advocates. One of them is even a founder. So instead of like listing all their bios out and all of that, I'm going to let them go and introduce themselves, starting with Amy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy, and I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a counselor. I have a degree in counseling psychology. I create content for mental health awareness because I think that mental health is an important topic. And in Nigeria, we don't talk about it enough. And even when we do talk about it, we don't talk about it in the way that I think it should be talked about. I think that's mostly it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to come back to you, but Chinanaya.
Hi everyone, my name is Chena Naya. You could call me Naya. I am the founder of Naya Foundation, an organization dedicated to raising mental health awareness, particularly in rural communities, through a unique method of meeting the most cogent needs of those communities and then educating them about mental health. I'm a philanthropist, a content creator, and a writer.
Wonderful. Okay.
So hi everyone. My name is Vivian. I am a mental health advocate. I've been advocating mental health for 5+ years, and I think I like to regard myself as a mental health literacy and well-being advocate. So I use digital content to spread awareness about mental health, and I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Henrietta, and I'm a mental health advocate, and I'm also a medical microbiologist. I've been into mental health for like a while now, and for someone who was depressed, I didn't feel depressed. I was depressed. So this is a very, very sensitive topic, and I feel that Nigerians especially need to get educated about, and I hope everyone literally learned something from today. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Lovely. Now let's just get right into it. Now, Amy, you did say that mental health is something that is not talked about enough. Why do you think is the reason why, we don't talk about it enough? We just keep quiet about it, we ignore it, despite how important it is.
Yeah, so I think with mental health, our first instincts, first of all, maybe as humans, or maybe I don't know if it's just Nigerians, is fear. So we fear things that we do not understand. And with mental health, we do not understand it, right? Because again, we like to see it as a foreign topic. But I always say that mental health is something that we've always struggled with, whether before the colonizers came to Nigeria or not. We've always had some sort of mental health challenges. You hear things like Abyssinian, that's like postpartum depression, but then they named it something crazy because again, they're scared of it, fear. So I feel like this natural instinct of let's fear what we don't understand has made a hush-hush thing happen around mental health conversations. People want to run away from it. And there's just also the vulnerability. We have not accepted vulnerability in Nigeria as a whole. Everybody runs away from vulnerability. If you're vulnerable, it means you're weak. And no one wants to be seen as weak, especially in a country where, African giants. We like to see ourselves as, these big people. We have strong egos. We don't want to let people see that we have, what I call emotions now. They like to say, oh, I'm strong. They don't want to see people say that they are weak, right? I feel like these are reasons why there's this silence or hush-hush, like I like to say, conversation around mental health.
Yeah, okay. So I know that in Nigeria, there's like this badge of honor that people give, like, oh, I'm suffering in silence, I'm enduring. Yes. Like, no. So, like, can't you like be a man, like, or endure something like that? So, I'm going to give it to you. Like, you have an organization, you're a philanthropy. So, like, how do you handle things like this with people that, or you want to educate them, but you still want to pass the message in a way that they would understand? It's not something you should run away from. It's something we all feel, we all experience.
So, like Amy said, mental health is something that is very hush hush, right? There's lots of secrecy enshrined in it, and I think it comes from the fact that there's vulnerability involved, right? You have to bear yourself to say, yeah, I am struggling with this. So an example of this I'd give is I was consulting for an organization, and they wanted to have a mental health, event for CEOs, and they're like, okay, so maybe we should have breakout rooms or like one-on-ones where people will come and open up. And I was like, why are we going away? Well, here in this meeting, discussing this thing, you're saying now for us to really open up, let everybody go and hide. No, how about we all in this room start speaking up? And it's very domino effect like, right? Like the 21 days runs. When one person does it, everyone is more comfortable to
yes.
speak up. So it takes that one person to come and say, you know what? I'm struggling with this, right? And all of a sudden, like when a teacher asks a question in class, nobody says anything. But once one person, everybody automatically knows the answer. Everybody starts to speak up. So I think it takes a lot of being vulnerable yourself, right? People usually connect to people who they feel understand them and share what they are going through, which is why when I have outreaches, for instance, depending on the context that I'm speaking to or the nature of the people I'm speaking to, that would determine what speaker is coming. So if I'm speaking to widows, I'm not going to go and speak to the widows. I've never been married. I don't know what it's like to lose someone, right? But if I bring a fellow widow who's dealt with this, come out of this, and she's like, oh, you know what? 10 years ago, I lost my man as well. They're like, oh, okay, me too, sis, And so again, it's the reason why the Me Too movement works, right? So it just takes that one person or a few people to come out, the change agents that you call it. If you're doing any change, you know that you need change champions or change agents. Those people to speak up and represent it and say, you know what? I need this change. This is something that's happening to me. So I'm going to speak up about it. I'm going to be vocal about it. And other people can join in that conversation. And once it's out in the open, right, that's when there's free flow of information. There's democracy of knowledge where everybody can get the information. I say, I'm learning this, I'm learning that. Oh, I learned this. We've had a conversation here today where we're like, oh, this is how I see it. And it's like, actually, no, this is another way to look at it. And you're all learning, right? That's how it has to be. If you don't have those conversations openly, then that's not going to happen.
Okay, so you mentioned representation, right? Do you guys think that we have proper representation when it comes to mental health, like for Nigerians? Like you did say you were depressed. Like, was there something you turned to? Is there anyone that made you feel okay? I'm not going insane. Like I know what's happening to me right now.
Well, no and yes. In the sense that it's at this stage, our present generation, that people feel comfortable talking about mental health. But a few years back, no one felt comfortable talking about, oh, I was
Yeah.
depressed, Especially when you come on social media, people would insult you with your depression. You understand? They would insult you. Like she said earlier on, you were black.
Yeah.
So they feel that, okay, because you have a black blood, nothing should move you. Yeah, you're strong.
Yes.
Which is completely false. I was depressed few years back. Now you would ask, why were you depressed? Like there was no family, no kids, nothing. What should you be depressed about? And stuff like that. I myself at that time, I did not know why I was depressed. You understand? But things were just not where I wanted it to be. You understand? There were just so many things that were happening. Was it school? Was it the lecturers? You know the way Nigerian lecturers are now. That's one lecturer would disturb you and stuff like that. Was it the lecturers? Was it your friends? In your friends? So I was talking to I went for an event few months back, and a girl came to meet me and she was like, she has been noticing her friend has been acting this way, this way, this way. That she has been trying to make her open up. That what should she do? And I was like, you can't go meet someone who is going through something and be like, okay, I know you're depressed. What is happening? Most times people who go through this stuff, they do not walk up to you to tell you that, okay, they are depressed. You understand? So there are things that you could do. You could, okay, maybe he or she's feeling low and you just walk up to the person. Oh, do you want to like lick ice cream? Let's just hang out, something like that. Something simple. And when the person finds you as a comfort zone,
Yeah.
that is when they don't just tell you, okay, yes, I'm depressed. It just starts small. And it depends on if you're educated enough to be of helping hand to that person. You don't have to be a therapist. You can just encouraging words, like they really go a long way. Especially when it's coming from someone you're like, okay, yes, I told this person this thing and this person said something to me that I really like. So that was the same thing that happened to me, and we know our Nigerian parents now, when you go through something, they have to go and pray.
Okay.
That was what happened to me. They told me to go and pray, you understand? And I did pray, you understand, because it's God. God does everything. And I did pray. But it just starts somewhere. So yeah.
So now the religion thing. We're very religious here in Nigeria. We tend to want to like any issue, just pray, even though we still have to take an action
Yes.
right here.
Yeah.
So you are a faith-based like creator. So like how do you do that balance? Like balance to that, oh I don't feel too well. Oh, go and pray, chicken anointing or something like that. So how
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
Drink
you
anointing
how do
oil.
you draw that line?
Okay, so I think my major, will I say, issue with speaking about mental health has been how to balance my faith with mental health, because I'm very faith inclined, but then I'm not also ignorant to like the real struggles. And I've also been advocating mental health for a long time to know that your use of words can matter. I try not to impose on people and say, oh, do this, do that, especially like within like do spiritual things, and then all your struggles will just ease up, because I remember how like my own journey. So not like, maybe not I was depressed, but I remember at a certain time in my life I felt depressed, and one of the things that actively brought me out of that was my faith. But then bringing me out of that was different from sustaining me on that path. Let me put it that way, because there were other things that I did to keep myself on that path to like healing and resilience and all of that. It wasn't just my faith. Like I didn't just wake up every morning and pray every morning and say, oh, okay, today I'm not going to da 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 da, and it worked. Like that definitely wasn't it. And so in speaking about it, I try to push for optimal health and holistic health, right? And it includes physical health, like biological health, mental health, and spiritual health as well. Like I'm not ignorant to the fact that, and again, another thing with mental health is not everybody spiritual. So how do you reach those that are not spiritual? So there has to be like a midpoint with it. And I think I read something online and it really resonated. It said people turning to faith and spiritual things for mental health is not a faith problem. It's a lack of knowledge problem. It's a lack of awareness problem. People turn to things that they feel like should help them because they don't know what this thing is and what is supposed to be like the solution for this thing. And that really resonated with me because it's true. I was reading a story online by CNN about a guy that he had like a mental health like condition, but his parents didn't know how to address that, so they took him to a church and they locked up the guy in the church, and they were doing all these things and like all this deliverance and everything, but it wasn't working, and they took him back home. So it was on their way home that they realized that this thing wasn't working. They called the pastor to come and meet him at home. It wasn't until somebody recommended a therapist, and then they realized that the guy had like paranoid schizophrenia and all those kind of things. So to some people, they can tell you, oh, I went to a church and he went. But then to somebody else, they can tell you it didn't work for me. So context also matters. And that's one thing that I try to push for when speaking about mental health. Like for me, I can freely speak about my faith as a big factor with my mental health, like because I saw the effects in my life. But then when I'm speaking in the context, like in a general Nigerian context, I know like I'm not foolish enough to say this has to be like what is going to be for everybody. I try to like put it like, okay, it worked for me, but it may not work for you, and it's also fine. I want it to work for you. Like, I'm not going to say, don't try it, or I want it to work for you, but then I can also understand that because faith is personal. So I can also understand that if it doesn't work for you, there are other things that you can try that will just bring that same result or that same effect. So I think the summary of it is when you're speaking about like faith and mental health, try to speak about it in the context of the person and to the context of the people as well. So like it can't work for everybody, but then like sorry, it can't work for everybody, so you have to like relate it to what people are going through. So I feel like that's my own personal journey and how I try to like portray it online.
I'm sorry, I want to add to that. So
Yeah.
regarding faith and mental health, I think a lot of people always do either or.
Yes.
And it's not oh you either have to pray or you
Yes.
go to therapy. It's that you pray and then you go
Go
to
to
therapy.
therapy, yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah,
So a lot of the
joint
time we do either or, like it's either you're going for deliverance. I believe in deliverance, right? But like don't do deliverance as just deliverance on its own. And when I mean
Yeah.
deliverance, I don't mean like from demons or anything. It's that even the Bible, because I'm a Christian, right, talks about deliverance, but I don't think deliverance is necessarily for mental health. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're doing deliverance, go to therapy. Whatever it is that you want to mix with your faith, and also do it with like science and like, you know, things that back mental health up. Do you understand? So it's not either or. It's not, oh, go to church, get deliverance. If you don't get deliverance, then that means there's a demon that's disturbing you or something.
Yeah.
It's that both of them, it's like pray to God to help you with like mental capacity to have the resilience to be able to deal with whatever mental challenges that you're
Yeah.
going through, but also go to therapy. And if it's not therapy, community, whatever it is that would help you in that situation. I don't like when people do either or, because it's like, why? Why does it have to be either or? And then we cannot also change the fact that as Nigerians, we're very religious, right? So you cannot also say, oh, do only therapy and then forget God. It's like and that's one of the reasons why the DSM-5 sometimes pisses me off. But I'm sorry, I don't think I should be saying that online. But sometimes it pisses me off because I feel like DSM-5 was created for people in like structured environments that have good jobs. Their president is not,
Yeah.
Yes.
So, having to put that in the Nigerian context, I don't think. Anyway, I shouldn't be saying this on the internet. So let me just go from there. So I would just say that we should also look at context and not do either or. So I think that's the summary.
So I want to
Keeping
come to like the
context.
DS. Did you want to say
Yeah, I
something?
did want to say something actually, where in terms of faith, my perspective on it is that I do think faith has a huge role to play for the people that do believe.
Yes.
I think it has a huge role to play. So when we look at faith, you're looking at its sense of purpose, right? So lots of people have existential issues, right? A lot of their mental health challenges stem from not knowing why they're here and what they're doing here. And faith does give a sense of purpose.
Identity.
It gives it a sense of identity. Church gives a
Community as well.
community.
Yes.
Church gives you a community, and community, as anyone in this room will tell you, is very important, right? It gives you hope. Just knowing that there will be better days ahead. It's not always going to be like this. And your faith can do that as well. So I do think that, and if we're being very honest, right, and I hate to be this person, but there are people that go to Orioke, crazy, and come back. Okay,
Do you know
pardon
why
my
that
use of that
happens?
word.
Sorry, I think it's the placebo effect.
Exactly.
And it's a psychological thing.
Because
So it
there's the
does
belief
work.
that this thing is going to work. So faith does
Yes.
have a role.
So
to
that's
play.
why
Yes.
I believe
So I
it.
don't think you can actually just remove it and say no faith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I think it has a role to play. And like Amy said, I think both work together. Both can work together. If that's what you believe in, do that.
Yes.
Right. I think they're different.
I do
approaches.
think it's a joint effort. Even the Bible says that, faith and work. So if you're going to have faith, pray, do the work too. Pray and go to therapy.
Yeah.
Now,
But we are forgetting the fact that we are in Nigeria. How many Nigerians actually go for therapy?
okay.
How many therapists do we even have in Nigeria?
How many therapists? Now, you mentioned the DSM-5 therapy model.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into it. So let's get into it now. I think that's probably what most like therapists in Nigeria use, which is the beginning of like, I don't want to say failure, but like if you're going to help someone in Nigeria using something that was designed by Western people for a structured society without taking into context things that happen here. I mean, so many issues, economic issues, social issues.
Yes.
I mean, we know these things. We know this, like it's getting worse by the day. So, do you think? Let me even ask: does therapy have to be in English?
No.
Like, do we have therapists that actually offer? Oh, you know what? You can do your therapy to me in Yoruba, because you would admit that there are ways that you can't even express yourself in English.
So there's African countries, right, where before colonizers and everything, they're not therapists. I'm trying to remember the word. I think sangomas or something like that, where they taught under trees. It was essentially therapy, right? Where you go and meet the elders and they talk you through whatever you're going through, right? That happens. But there's also something. My father tells me something that you can't properly understand or do something that never existed to you. And when I say that, I mean language. Our language. What is schizophrenia in Yoruba? Shomo.
This is a showmo.
What is bipolar disorder in Igbo? Do you
I
know?
have no idea.
Now, there's certain concepts, right? I do not I'm not saying that both don't exist, which is that there is therapy, not in the sense that we know it, but cognitive behavioral therapy, talk therapy in different forms in more localized contexts. But if we're looking at this is the diagnosis for this one, this is this and this is that, it's limited to certain languages, because if it doesn't exist in a language, then how are you going to explain it? If I'm going to explain to you that you need so this and that and this and that, and the words don't even exist. So you find in Yoruba where you're using words that are in the semblance of, and I noted this problem because I work with rural communities, and so I go with interpreters, and before we speak to them, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to say, I want to say that, if you're feeling anxious, then da, 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 da. And they're like, okay. Paola,
there's
a word for
there's always
anxiety
that
in
language
Yoruba.
barrier.
So it's a lot of times they may be because I'm not very fluent, right? However, most of the time, a lot of the words that you're using are things to describe it. Oh, nifo kombale, meaning okay,
exactly.
your mind is not down, but is that really anxiety? Because then you cannot use that interchangeably for worry. You can use that. So how do you now differentiate between anxiety and anxiousness? Where we have already said that in mental health, the words,
and I think with
the words,
even like local languages, the words are always scary. Like, oh, need for kombale. It just
like,
sounds,
do you know what it means that
deep.
you don't have peace of
Do you
mind?
understand? That's the translation in
That's
English.
the literal
Like, you don't
translation. You do not have peace of. Yes, your head is
Or
hot.
like,
Your head is on
or
fire.
like abysmally, like I always
You gave birth and you
win.
are it's
always
so
very serious.
what are the words? And if your language doesn't even give room for these things to exist, then it's almost saying that this thing, we're not open to it in this culture and this language. Do you understand? So I think that can also be a source of challenge, but I also know that language, like everything else and culture, is ever evolving, right? I believe in the next 10-20 years there will be proper words, because as at 10-20 years ago, do we have smartphones? I think we have something in Yoruba now that is different from telephone, where smartphones, right? We have those words are constantly coming. 100 years ago, was there a Yoruba word for television? Right.
But is there
There's a Yoruba word for
television?
Something I want. There's a thing they call it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I don't think it's a word. They just then try to look for like
because the transliteration of those words as well would not mean like
something like that.
I think it's aminimal or something like that, and it's something like something we look at or like
I think it's that something about audiovisual shine. Yes. So it's evolving and we find a way, and it's going to keep evolving. So it's going to keep evolving. So I think we will get to the point where there's certain words, right, that we will have in those local dialects. But for now, it's always going to be a blend. It's going to be a blend of English, Pidgin. You're speaking to these people. When you finish explaining, they're like, me, yes. Like,
I don't understand.
So where do we go from here? So I think it's a mix, but I just wanted to say that to a large extent, local languages sometimes. Well, let's say, so now if we say limiting, it's saying that it now is alluding to the fact that the standard is European, is English. But they set the standard, which is where I also share in the vex of the DSM, where you've come and set the standard in this language in this context without considering these other things and variables. So that's why I think it's a shaky thing, you know.
So let's come back to something you said. You said that in church you can find a community. Now, do you think we as Nigerians we've lost the plot? You know, there's this thing going on that people are pushing that, you know, lock in, isolate yourself for 6 months. So by the time you're pushing ideas like that, lock in, and we're just pushing away community, we're already straying away from that path. We are community inclined normally. So I think people are becoming more individualistic and things like that. So do you think that plays a role in how we see these things?
100%. So I'm trying to remember Hofstede's cultural levers, I believe it's called, where countries are split into individualistic, you know, communal, feminine, masculine. There are countries that are more masculine, more feminine, and there's different traits, and there's a bunch of other things under, you know, Hofstede's levers. Now, because of globalization, those lines are blurring, right? So because we've mixed now, so let's say Nigerians weren't hustle people, or Nigerians were hustle people before, but now when there's a lot of migration, lots of Nigerians are there. There's now, like, in a country like, let's say, France, where we know that they're more feminine in nature, while Nigeria is masculine in nature. At the time, there's a lot of migration and mixing, right? What really is the culture of the French people anymore? Or is it now Nigerian French and vice versa, right? So with globalization, there's a huge mix. And when that happens, the things that really made us who we are, communal in nature, right? We kind of lose those things, right? Because in more European countries, they're very individualistic in nature.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is why you have more cases of people who die in their homes and nobody finds them for 6 weeks. You cannot do that. It won't happen. Why won't this happen? Because even if it's your amebo neighbor that's like,
yes.
You know, it's the whole thing of the whole community is raising the child. So if they don't see the child running around for a while, it's like, where is the child, right?
Yes.
Things like that. So I think with the blend, like with globalization and the blend of cultures and everything, we are in a sense losing our essence, right? The things that made us, community. You know, I'm a boy in our nature. We're losing it, right? So, you know, all these things, right? And then where did we get locking, hustle, drive, this,
Yeah.
that, right? Where did we get that before? Where we look at Nigeria, you could be how many years of age and still be in your parents' house. You won't leave until you're getting married, and it wasn't
Yeah.
taking. I mean, because people remember we used to live in the same compound, extended families. The father you bring you marry, she will come and join you. You guys have your kids. That's how we used to live before, and now it's like 25.
And you're still at
daddy's
home.
house. Yeah.
Some people move out just for
Don't
the
come
plots.
to me with
They
that
come back.
money.
Yeah, like people are moving. I always say people are moving out, and I'm like, oh, why are you leaving? And they're like,
Like it doesn't make sense to still be.
why would I still be in my father's house?
Yeah.
Yay. So again, it's these things where we're looking at things from other cultures where they've, and it's what has worked for them, it's what they have, has worked for them, and we now take it and we're like, this looks aesthetic. If I have my own house, then I'll shoot here, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll host this, I'll have that. That's not our culture. But we're taking things, they're also taking things from us, But I think we need to be intentional about what we're trying to take. So I think it's a balance of maintaining our culture and the integrity and authenticity of our culture, but taking the good things, right? So I don't necessarily think looking in, hustle, out of the house by 22, married by 25, kids by 28, Okay, so what's plan B? If it did not work out, what then is next, So I think these are the issues.
Yeah, just to add to what Naya said regarding the authenticity thing, is that as much as you want to take it from the Western culture, because again, back to DSM-5, is that sometimes people feel the whole postpartum depression thing, you have this, you have that, you cannot exactly say what is up with you, but DSM-5 has giving you a name. Do you understand? It's just like when people say, oh, I'm avoidance, I'm this, I'm that. Before then, you didn't know what it was. But the fact that you have a word to be able to label that thing like, oh, I am avoidance, or I have this, I have that, it makes you understand, it makes you understand yourself better. Do you understand? But then again, we lose context. And while also doing therapy, I feel like our therapists also forget the context that they're in. Like, why Nigeria? Do you understand? The kind of things that would stress me is that I could not buy data yesterday, or like, it might not be serious to be able to cause me depression, but having all of these things layered in my life, at some point I will get there where it's like, I'm tired. Do you understand? I want to say I'm tired, but I don't mean I'm tired like physical stress. It's that emotionally, mentally, do you understand? But like, I'm still saying I'm tired. In English, it's like, oh, you're physically tired. Do you understand? But as Nigerians, when we say I am tired, we're talking about more than just physical exhaustion, right? So with what Naya said again,
Say more.
Like, it's what you already get that.
Like, yes.
There's a lot going on here.
10 is happening.
All right, so yeah, it's like authenticity. Like, while you're taking in the Western standards and whatever it is, still hold on to your African heritage, your culture. We're talking about something with the Omugo thing. Yeah, it's like some people in Africa, when you give birth, your mother-in-law, your mother goes to your house, takes care of you for 6 months, and that helps to reduce postpartum depression, whatever postpartum blues that a mother could be going through. But in the Western states or countries, they don't do any of that. You give birth, you go home, yay, the baby's born. Do you understand? And I see a lot of Nigerians also taking in that, like, oh, nobody should come and visit us. So it's just me and my husband. You and your husband who? Do you understand? You and your husband who? Like, you forget that in all of this, you still need people. So as much as we want, I believe in being individualistic sometimes, because your parents can be... I like that. Like, it's like, as much as you're living in their house, you want to be able to set boundaries. Like, boundaries where in my house, my roof.
There's even this poster. You're going through your mental health, and they call you to come and wash plates.
So yes, it can be exhausting trying to do individualistic, and then there's that communal thing of, no, it's all of us together in this house. But still pick when it's time to set boundaries and when it's time to do, okay, yeah, shy, everybody, let's come together. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's pick what benefits us and leave what doesn't benefit us.
I do think community is important.
Yes,
especially
I think
where we are.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think also on the topic of community, right? I think because I was thinking about it before coming here, people have this far-fetched view of community or what community should be. So people think, oh, if I'm not in a church, like external church setting, or if I'm not in like a tech community, all those kind of external communities, like then my community doesn't matter. But you can also think of community in the context of the people around you, like your little friend, like nuclear units kind of setting, your friend groups, your best friend, even your partner, like your family, like those kind of things can also serve as community for you, because people think, oh, I have these people in my life, but if I don't belong to something like way bigger than me, yes, like something that is very large or way bigger than me, then I'm not in a community. So I think that's another thing that people can also like tap into, because I can, to a large extent, I get the like locking hustle culture. I don't agree with it because I think it's very exhausting, and it sort of paints a picture that I don't like align with personally as a person, because I'm like, why all this extra? Like everybody needs to calm down. Like
You're
everybody
making
needs
money
to chill. Like
we're making
so
money
yeah,
while
so
sleeping.
yeah, it's like
You're making money.
some people are well suited for that life. Some people are like locking, and in 6 months they're coming out with something. But some other people, they go through life at a like slower pace, and those kind of things can really affect. But like on the topic of community, right, don't think like, to anybody watching this, like don't think of community as something that has to be like far-fetched, because that's another thing that makes people feel left out, or FOMO, like have FOMO or fear of missing out. Like if I'm not at that next big event, then I don't belong in the community. Or if I'm at that event and I don't feel like I know this person, I know that person, I know this person or that person, then I don't feel like I belong in a community. But you can also think of community as like the people that are closest to you, those small units. They can serve as that kind of covering, and that kind of like covering is the word for you as well. So just like add to like what they've said, your community.
Okay, so Henrietta, let me come to you. Do you think, you know, at the state you were in at that time, do you have a community that helped you, or just you couldn't?
Well, I actually do believe in being locked in. Yeah, I know I'm like going against what some of you said,
that's
but
okay.
that's
No, it's
me.
fine. Yes,
Let's
like,
have it.
I'm
It's
interested.
fine, but being influenced by others to lock in, I think is worth
Yes.
it. That's
It
how
should be
you
a
are
personal
feeling.
preference.
We also need to understand mental capacity.
Yeah.
I can lock in and I may not be able to
Yeah.
lock in.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like our mental capacities are
Yeah.
like this. Some people have really high, they can take
Your
so many
threshold is
strains.
higher.
Exactly. While me, it's more stress like this. I'm just a girl.
Well, I actually do believe in being locked in.
Okay.
I think that was how I got my, should I use the word breakthrough? You know, I didn't have a community. See, now I don't still have a community like that, like large
Yeah, you
community.
say you don't have a
No,
community.
I said large
Girl.
community. I said large community. You know, there are some people who are out there. I've never been out there. No, especially for people who are not into friend groups and having friends and going out and that kind of stuff. I find it exhausting going out, having group of friends. I don't have group of friends, you understand? So I actually do believe in being locked in, because you know it works different for everybody, in the sense that in as much as one person wants a community does not mean another person can get that breakthrough having a community, you understand? And like she said, and like Amy said earlier on about a mother would just give birth, and you know, the mother coming to like do this kind of stuff. I don't think all mothers, especially now, want people coming to their space after they just got back from the hospital or something. You know, so people actually need, even if it's just few days to themselves and their child. They just want to have that bond. You know, they're not saying, okay, you won't come at all, but just give us that breathing space. But you know the way some Nigerian homes can be, how the mothers want to like come immediately they hear you're at the hospital, they're already coming, and you know some can be imposing and just want to like be in your space. Some people need that breathing space, and I got my breakthrough through that. I was just on my own, especially during that COVID period. Where do you want to have some sort of external community aside you just being indoors on your phone? People were not going out. You didn't have some sort of gathering that you could come together to like talk about things. So I actually, like I keep on saying, I actually believe in being locked in. So it works differently for everybody.
That's very
So
interesting.
I actually get you, because me, I'm very more. I'm very more.
Naya can
I'll get to
relate.
you. I'm very more reserved. Like I don't. I mean, I don't have a lot of friends. Maybe like two, three. But there are times when I'm in a really down, which I'm like, oh my god. I wish I had someone just talks about this, or even if it's outside. I'm just give you a very simple example. Say I'm home now. There's no lights. I'm looking all around my neighbors, they put on their gel. I'm like, oh my god, as soon as I was relating with these people, as soon as I was engaging with them, I can just go at me when I say, oh please let me charge my phone, something like that. But so I do think that while you may not want like a community where you have to like relate every time, you do need to relate with people at the end of the
You know,
day.
your community does not have to be you having 5 people or 6 people. It can be just one or
One
two.
person,
Yeah, you
yeah.
understand. So I have a friend that, okay, when I just text, so how are you? I'm like, oh my, I just tired.
Yeah.
I just tire. You know, it explains a lot what I'm talking about. So you don't have to have 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, or that kind of stuff. So even if just one precious person in your life
Yeah.
that understands what you're going through, someone you can talk to, that's enough. One person can make a difference that 100 people could not even find a solution to. You understand? So
Yeah, Henrietta, but what you've just explained there is community.
Yeah, I think it
Yes,
just comes down to
and
saying
that's the
that.
point I was trying
I
to
don't,
make as well
much
about
as we're
like
saying like different people have different mental thresholds and stuff like that, is that it's actually not possible. I don't want to say it's not possible because again I've not done the research and I don't know. But as human beings, we're social beings, right? The way we were created is that you have to have some sort of like
Someone,
God
yes.
saw Adam and said, "This man cannot possibly live.
Couldn't work.
Do you understand? Like it can't work. Do you understand? So even if it's just one person, is community. It's not about having 1,000 people.
Yes.
It's that there's this person I know that I can get support from.
Yes.
Do you understand? Like just being able to say, "Oh, hi Naya, what's up? How are you doing? I don't feel good today." Do you understand? Or Naya, this is what is up with me. It's just having somebody that you can speak to and locking in. I promise you, it's not call it work. That's what I just want to say. Like when you say locking and it's just you, like that's solitary confinement. When you say locking and then have time to then speak to one another,
engage
do you understand?
people,
Because
yeah.
even while you say you were locked in, you were still speaking to that friend, right? You're not speaking to that friend at all. It was just you. Sorry.
that's why I'm trying to I disagree with what you said with Kole work. Is you trying to say that okay, because she got her own true faith based does not mean that I cannot have any other means. You understand?
No, I'm not saying you
So
can't have other means, but yeah, sorry, continue. Let me cut you short.
so it can work. And I'm saying it can work from experience. Not because I read it. Not because I went to the internet to research on it. I'm talking based on experience. At that moment, I was not talking to anyone. I didn't want to even be on my phone. You understand? I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't on social media or anything. And believe me, like you can get your breakthrough with you just connecting with yourself. Yeah. You understand? So it doesn't have to be the way we try to make it seem as if it's one.
So
I think I actually relate.
finally, my people, let me speak. Okay, so first thing I want to say, I have two things to say to you, one thing to say to you. So I would say that when there's a hole, if I fall into a hole, I can try to get out of that hole and it's difficult. And when I sit down in that hole for like 1 week and I'm like, you know what? I must get out of this hole. I can get out of the hole. I could also be in the hole and be like, help, oh, and somebody brings a rope and pulls me out of the hole. Do both people get out of the hole? Yes. I feel like there's not a set way to come out of these things,
Yes.
right? Everybody needs to find what works for them. So there's a lot of trial and error, right? That's one. Two, I think that what Amy said is correct. We are social beings, right? Now there'll always be the exceptions, right? There'll always be people that are like, yeah, I am a social being, but I'm like I don't.
I could care less.
It's the same way we say humans are sexual beings, but then they are asexual people,
Yeah.
right? So there are always people that don't necessarily feel that way. In COVID, for instance, you were like, oh yeah, everybody was on their own. That's when Clubhouse blew up. Why? Because people just wanted to talk. You could have called on, your phone, but then it's just a community of random people that you just think share the same interests. We inside the Clubhouse, right. So I think that we are social beings. Most people, the majority of people will crave community and social. And community could even just be one person. It could be your family, and that's okay. And there are people that are still able to thrive on their own. I think what we're saying or avoiding is that where either shouldn't because again, that is the exception. We're saying that we shouldn't glorify that or make that the ideal picture, because then that's going out of most people's like natural states or what they're naturally inclined to do because Henrietta did it and it worked for her, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to say about that. To you, 2 points. So with having a word that we are able to identify ourselves with, right? When we find the word and we say, oh, anxiety, and that's what I'm identifying myself with. Having that word or having those terms and everything, it helps you understand yourself better. What is that? Knowledge. With knowledge comes power. And with power, abuse is inevitable, right? Stay with me now. So the problem or a challenge that I've seen, and I'm now going to bring in trivialization of mental health, is that because now we know all these terminologies, we know, I'm actually avoidant. I'm actually, no.
OCD.
Hey.
OCD has.
Oh, I like this. I like this already.
I was so happy that nobody said that.
I raise you bipolar disorder.
Because me saying
I raise you bipolar disorder.
You have moto.
No, I'm sorry. I raise you narcissistic.
Oh, he's a narcissist.
Avoidance.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No, that's not even a mental health challenge. But I'm saying that narcissism.
He's a narcissist.
He's a narcissist.
Just because I want something.
Yes.
My anxiety. Hey.
I'm an
My baby, you can be anxious. Anxiety disorder is a whole other ballgame, right? So I think that's where, that comes in, where we have the knowledge, we have the power, we can abuse it. So that's something I wanted to raise. And two, I remember like 5 years ago, there was this guy, an Igbo guy. I remember he was trending on Twitter because there's a diagnostic book for, health in general, like physical health. And you see the different symptoms, and that's what a lot of doctors use. However, it's created for the white man. Yeah. So it comes in and says, oh, when the skin is turning blue, me.
Blue care.
About something that's going to be blue. You see, nothing. Right? So that was the basis of diagnosis. So for colored people, it was a bit difficult, right, for them to get like accurate diagnosis. So this guy comes up with this book where he gives the symptoms that you would see and how it would present in a colored person. I feel so he customized it, right? Because I always say something about inclusion. If you've not created a space for me, you're essentially saying that I don't matter. Yeah. So me, if you're telling me this DSM now is for white people, meaning as a black woman, if my like symptoms and everything don't match what you have there, I can just jump off a cliff. Like that's my business, right? It's over. So I feel like there needs to be that something like that guy did, but for the DSM, where it's like, how do these things present? And because it's mental health, it's not just my skin color and how it presents in me, like, right? How does this present in to people within a third world country context? Yeah. For a person in a war-torn country, how would anxiety present, right? Where at some point you can't afford to be, if like a person that usually is struggling with anxiety sometimes will freeze up. As much as you want to freeze up or you're frozen in your head, you can't because that ballistic can't hit you can't freeze, right? So there's different ways that it would present. So in a war-torn country, in a third world country where it's black people, how does these symptoms, how do these challenges present themselves, and how can you get an accurate diagnosis? I think that has to come to play. Thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. So we mentioned something that what works for A won't work for B. And you mentioned something when you were speaking before, aesthetics. So I think now, you said something about aesthetics.
I was talking about when people move out of their homes just for the plot, just because it looks cute.
Yeah, great. Now we all get these things from like the internet. We're consuming so much. We want to practice. We're just consuming it and we're practicing, not taking into consideration the fact that the life I'm living is not what this person is living. So how do we like draw that line? Like everybody's like, let me give you an example. Like Pilates now is like raining. Everybody's just in it for vibes.
I feel attacked.
This is a Pilates girly.
I feel attacked.
You're dragging.
Okay. Okay. So now everybody's saying Pilates for lose weight, get small waist. When that's not even the main reason for Pilates in the first place. It's the same thing, like just aesthetics thing, that go to the gym, things like that. So things that don't even necessarily work for you. You're just trying it because this person has said it, and then also like wellness influencers, right? So like, how do you find what works for you? That's the point.
I had said earlier that there's a lot of trial and error in finding what works for you, right? So I stepped into the gym first day in my life because, I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I did a little 1-2-1-2. I said, you know what? not for me.
Yeah.
And that is okay.
Yes.
It's a problem if I now sit down and say, this babe did it and she was okay.
Yes.
Me, I must do it and it's okay. Now I run. Amy does Pilates. You see that there machine? I personally don't think I can make it. I could try it and it works. I think it's a trial and error thing. I do think so. Again, there then comes people that know you better that will say, I think this would work for you instead. I think this will work for you instead, and they can make recommendations. But I do think there's not a one size fits all, and it really is a trial and error thing. That's what I think. But you go ahead.
Yeah, so just like you were mentioned, the whole wellness influencer thing, I think also seeing what people do and works for them also helps you to know what works for you. Because when I started yoga and Pilates and whatever, I've never heard of it before. I'm a Nigerian girl. What do you mean Pilates?
Pilates how?
Like, what do you mean? But I tried it. The first time I did try, I didn't like it because my body hurt so bad. I was like, what's going on? Like, it's not supposed to be this hurtful. Like, I'm supposed to feel good, not hurt. Do you understand? But then I was like, okay, just one more time. Let's do it again. And then I did like it. And then it became like my own type of healing. Like, aside from journaling, I do yoga and Pilates and it makes me feel good. Like when I'm doing that in all of those stretches, I feel really good. I feel like I'm connecting to more than just my own self, but like a deeper, I've said God, but yeah, let's just leave it like that. Do you understand? So I feel like seeing what works for Henrietta, seeing what works for Vivian, seeing what works for Naya, I'll be able to decide then, okay, I've tried Henrietta's method. Because she shall. Do you understand? Then I'll try Vivian's method again. So again, like Naya said, it's trial and error. Because truth is, you cannot say, oh, this thing is for me, and then you just know that it's for you. Sometimes it works like that. Like you see something, this is for me, and then it does work for you. But sometimes it doesn't. But the knowledge to be able to say, this is not for me, and move on from there is where it's at.
What also works for you per time may vary. Right.
Yes.
So at a point in your life, this particular thing may work, and then after that, it may not be the same thing. So I think that also needs to be taken into consideration. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think just as what they said, like personally, I don't frown on digital content because I also use digital content to raise awareness about mental health. So I don't frown on it. And I believe that people are impressionable. Just like what Amy said, that watching somebody else do something that has worked for them can work for you. But I think there needs to be a balance. And that balance is self-awareness, right? Knowing, like understanding yourself so much that you know what can fit in your context is very important, because it's not just like what she said. The first day I went to the gym, I wanted to run. Like I went to the weight room, or what they call that, and I sat down. I told my friend, like, I don't think I can come tomorrow. But then, like,
be able to make it.
to be honest, and I was saying her that 1 month in, I'm going to kill a goat. Like I was telling everybody that would see me. People could tell like this was your first time here. And even though people were nice, I was like, I can't do this. But then 1 month in, and I'm like, okay, I see how it's improving my mental health. I see how I want to come for this thing, right? For somebody else, they can start and be like, I can't do this again. But just like what she said as well, going and pushing yourself way past your limits, you already know that something is off. So like self-awareness, understanding yourself to be able to fit things into your context is very important. I don't frown on digital content. I feel like it helps because knowledge, we learn like from different things, and we learn like the way the subconscious mind works is you are taking in information that you don't even know you're taking in until you have to draw from it, right? Our subconscious mind like takes in more information that we realize, right? So being self-aware to be able to relate things to your context is very important. You can see something and be like, oh, this thing can work for me, and then you try it out and it works for you, good and fine. Like before you saw that thing, you didn't know that thing existed. Just like what she said, you didn't know that thing existed, but then seeing it, or you're like, oh, let me try it out. But then you can also see it and be like, this thing is not for me. I feel like the more you go, the more your self-awareness even increases, because before you, like for some people, you don't even have to try something out before you know that this thing would not work for me. Like it's not everybody that you have to like try something out, because another thing is you can try something out and it scars you more than you even realize without even intending it to. So trial and error is good, but I feel like at the foundational level, people need to be more self-aware, because that's how you can relate things to your context.
I think when you try something and it's not working, you can actually find a way to tweak it to work for you. Because I've tried journaling, it didn't work. Like writing, it only works sometimes. But something that I found that works is just recording myself, just ranting. I just rant about it, just say, and it just flows like that, and that worked for me. So yeah. But okay, now still on like internet consumption habits and things like that. Now mental health, overall health, overall wellness, overall health. Now, food comes into play, right? So, sometimes you see, or do you agree, or do you have a
No, yes,
counter?
food,
I said
like
food
food
comes into play
when it comes to
what
mental
you
health.
eat, not mental health and overall wellness, like holistic overall wellness. So now, again, creators and things like that. I still think that there should be more creators that bring it down to the average Nigerian level, things that you can practice easily. Like you're telling me, oh, I'm gonna say maybe go hiking, do yoga, things like that. Not, like I'm having a 9 to 5, right? I'm waking up early as 6 a.m. to rush into traffic. And what time will I really have to do yoga? Or you're asking me, oh, eat this, brain foods, eat this, herbage. You're mentioning very foreign names, very, very foreign names, very lush names. Where exactly am I going to get that really? So like, do you think that is something that we need to address? Into through that?
Well, we are trying to de-Westernize the whole thing. So we are in Nigeria, so it's basically what works for you as a Nigerian. Um, Hiking. Where do you want to hike in Nigeria?
There are places.
I can
And there are places,
Like,
oh,
I
yes.
can
In Lagos?
many of the
States.
states.
Me, I'm not in Lagos.
Okay,
like,
so
Lorry.
I think we need to realize that not everyone lives in Lagos. There's a
Yes,
whole world
outside of Lagos, yes.
We keep thinking Lagos, Lagos, Lagos. Bruh, I was in Jos like a few months ago. I had work. I was in Jos for work. Did I climb a mountain? Yes, I did. I woke up 4:30. I was out. I said, you know what? Because this plateau, they have so many, and it's such a
Yes.
in Abuja too. It's such a culture. Hiking is such a
hiking
part
is a
of what
big
they
culture in
do.
Abuja.
So it's based on the facilities they have, right? Or I don't want to say infrastructure, but what their nature brings for them.
Yeah.
Here, even if we had hills, they've built bridge on it. They've sandfilled the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing left of the nature. We're in
Yeah.
a metropolis, right? In Lagos, but thinking outside of Lagos, I do think that there's resources available. But I'll let you bring a question to me. Continue.
Anyways, like I was saying, I haven't gone hiking before. I find it exhausting, so just even thinking about it.
It was fun.
It's fun. I don't even like walking because of going hiking. You understand? So I work at 9 to 6, Monday to Saturday. Yes, Monday to Saturday. I work in a medical field, and I work Monday to Saturday, 9 to 6 every day. So those are little time I have on Sundays to like for myself. I don't think I would want to like do something that would stress my life. You understand? And speaking of food, I like food. You understand? So if it's something I probably saw on the internet that would probably work for someone, like for example, when I had this green tea, green tea. I think I read on the internet that okay, it's good for this, it's good for that, it's good for that, and they were always selling it around my side. I had to go to a far distance to the supermarket to look for green tea. You understand? So I understand the okay, yeah, it's a Western thing and that kind of stuff, but you could also search for what works for you. If it's swallow, you can eat. That's perfectly fine. That's our Nigerian
I like
food.
it back.
That's our Nigerian food. You understand? If it's anything that you can find around you that some people just find comfort in eating. I find comfort in eating junks, you understand? When I'm like probably stressed or going through something, I just go outside to just get, even if it's biscuit, you understand, chocolate or anything. So whatever works for you, you don't have to like do something extravagant or what rich people do. You that you're surviving, you want to do it. How? Where will you find the money? You understand? So whatever.
I also think that there's some sort of like an intentionality behind all of these things.
Yes.
Is that saying that I don't have time to do this thing or I can't do this thing? It now makes you not want to do anything.
Yeah.
Because before I was working like 2 days a week and I was doing yoga like every other. But then I started working proper 9 to 5. And my house is far from the island. Or every time I come back from work, I have decided that, you know what, I'm still going to do yoga. Whether I'm tired, the traffic almost killed me, I will still do yoga. Do you understand? So being intentional and trying to make sure that every day that you have 24 hours,
Yes.
you make time to put at least one self-care activity.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
again, I don't want us to say, this one is for the rich, this one is for this. I don't feel like I can do this. I don't feel like I can do that. Try something.
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
something and be intentional about it. Like, today I'm going to do this. I'm going to journal. Or tomorrow for 5 minutes, I'm going to do this. For 10 minutes, I'm going to do that. Because truth is, again, there are different types of self-care, emotional self-care,
Yes.
social, all of those things.
Yeah.
Try and make sure that at least every day you are practicing
One,
Do you
yeah.
understand? You don't have to, again, I don't know who was saying something about it's not set in stone. It's not, yoga is going to help you and you must use it. And
Yes.
do you understand?
Yeah.
Try different things. But don't say, I can't do this. It doesn't work for me. There's no time. Because truth is, if you keep giving excuses,
You never
it's
get to
your
do
mental
anything.
health. Do you understand? It's nobody's, it's yours. You have the responsibility to take care of yourself, to make sure that at every point in time you have like techniques to manage these stressors. Like, because truth is, we have stressors every
Every
day.
day.
And then these stressors don't have to be that thing that will say depression or suicide. It's, do you understand? It keeps piling up.
pile up.
Today is the fact that Ethel frustrated me.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the fact that
Traffic.
said that. The next day is, is something, is traffic, is this, is that. There's just always something. And then if after 24 hours minus the, okay, let's say 8 hours or so that you sleep, is that all of these hours you are stressing yourself, your body is angry, your mental health is in shambles. Do you understand? You have to find at least 1 hour, or let's say 30 minutes if you don't have that much time, to just do something that your body loves, to do something that your mind loves, to do something that even you love. So yeah, I think that's it.
So, to answer your question, you said diet, your food, right? What does what you eat have to do? Do you think it connects? I think it does. I think your diet has a huge role to play in your overall well-being, including your mental health. You do know that we all know your gut health directly influences your mental health. Now, when it comes to then curating your diet in a way that it works for you, I do understand that like creators tend to be a bit abstract when it's like, oh, get the aubergine, get the this, get the that. But I think you can localize it. So you don't have aubergine, you should have ugu. You don't have kale. You will make you have spinach. Wash it for you will be okay. Right? I think it's just like Amy said, the intentionality to say that, okay, I want to eat healthy, right? There's so many meal plans and calorie counters for Nigerian food.
Yes.
We're way past the part where it's like, oh, there's no calorie count. So how many calories are in eba and egusi? You will find this. Now, maybe there's the fact that they're calling it melon soup. Okay. In brackets, egusi. In brackets, fisherman soup. But it is still, and we're very lucky in Africa. Our food is very rich, right? My father has a whole garden in the back of the house. If he's not growing his own teas, he's getting
The leaves.
his own moringa. He has his own aloe vera. He has all those things, yeah. So it's the level of intentionality, and also working a 9 to 5, baby. Let me tell you, I work a 9 to 5 a.m. sometimes. My work, it didn't have end. It didn't have end, right? And again, it's the times and seasons things where there was a time where no matter what, I will wake up early in the morning before I go to VI. Early in the morning, I'm going to go and have my run. That's true. Yeah, I used to run all the time. And if anybody sees my social media, you know that I have not been running recently, and that's okay for now. It's also hard finding the little ways to cope. I don't know if that's wellness in itself, where my thing is, no matter what I've gone through in a day, that for 30 minutes every night, I'm going to open my Netflix, watch a sitcom. It could be something I've watched 10 billion times. I'm going to go to my friends. I'm going to go to my girlfriends. I'm going to watch my show and have my dinner. 30 minutes uninterrupted, no matter what. And that gives me comfort. That is what gets me going. That's like, okay, you know what? We'll go again tomorrow. So it's just knowing that, okay, this is what I want to do every day. That intentionality, localizing it. Sometimes it won't be readily available. You have to make it your own. I think we need to take that responsibility for ourselves as well.
Yeah, so I think we all need to be responsible to ourselves.
Yes.
Be intentional about what you want and know what works for you, basically. You've said what works for you: yoga, pilates. You like to run, watch sitcoms. You like food to distress. And what about you?
I like to journal every day.
Journal. Great.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful. I think that works for different people. May I like to rant to myself on recordings and listen back later. So I think the major takeaways here is that, at the end of the day, we need to have these discussions and be open-minded, try new things, try and error. When you try new things, you know yourself better, you know what works for you. And let's not trivialize these words. OCD, throw it around. You don't have anxiety, you don't have OCD because you want to dust the table, you want things a certain way. So I think that's great. I think we've had a wonderful conversation. Anyone have any final words from anyone?
Well, I would just like to say something about coping mechanism. I think it's a very important thing that even if you're like anxious or this, for example, when we came here and I was like, okay, let's get something, just start, and she was like, relax, that kind of stuff, you understand? So even if like you're anxious about something or you're about to like face the crowd or something, there's several coping mechanisms that you can do to get out of that situation. Breathing mechanism might not work for me, but it might work for you. Now it might be me counting 10 backwards that would work for me. Or it might be me saying, okay, yes, how many things am I saying here? Okay, I'm seeing you, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing the table, I'm seeing this. That might work for me, you understand? It might just be me talking to myself. I talk to myself a lot. In fact, I'm my own special therapist. You understand? I talk to
Ooh.
myself a lot. You understand? So it might be you just talking to yourself. It might not be loud. It might be just be in your head, or you just having a random conversation and laughing with yourself. You understand? So whatever works for you, like people should just try to like impute that in their day to day. Yeah. So
Lovely, I love that. So, major takeaways, right? So, just be intentional. Find what works for you. If you're a believer, you're religious, find a balance between your faith and actually doing the work to make yourself better, right?
Yeah.
So, there you guys have it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you learned one or two things about mental health and how to take care of yourself. Until the next episode. Bye.